pretties. We are making some witch earrings today. Look at this. I got witches, I got ghosts, little pumpkins, I got some wire wrapped candy corn, I got some cool splatter beads. I taught a class, we were making these little ghost earrings, but we had more fun making the witch. This is the first prototype. Used a little seed bead up in there. You can't really see it right now. There it is. See, that's the peekaboo green. My student, she's so funny. She's like, oh my gosh, she's got on green underwear, but where are her shoes? So after that, I have decided now to do Witch Feet 2.0, babies. And over here are where I have painted up a lot of these little calla lilies with sparkle Mod Podge. You want to do your legs first. See? Simple loop, no wrapping. Pardon my nails there, people. I'm an artiste. I'm not a nail designer. I'm using these little 1-inch head pins here to feed on a 6/0 black seed bead. And then I believe these are 10/0 on the smaller seed beads here. I'm just alternating. You can either take your round nose pliers on the edge to pull, or since I've got so much space, I'm just going to go ahead and use my bent nose plier because it seems like I get a better pull that way. And I'm just going to balance this up against my index finger, hold it with my thumb, and I'm pulling the edge so that I make a bend right on top of that seed bead without creating a stem the way I would when I was making the wrapped loops up here for the witch. You're going to hold this top bead with your thumb to keep it from popping up as you make your simple loop. But I've got a lot of this tail left and I don't need it. I only need about 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to cut the excess off about right here and make sure that it doesn't fly up and get me in my eye. I don't need a big loop, so I'm going to be fairly close to the edge of my round nose pliers. And just at the edge of that wire, I'm going to start turning towards myself and holding that seed bead down with my thumb until I get to where that loop is almost touching the stem back here. Keep either turning it with the edge of your round nose pliers until it touches, or take your bent nose pliers or even your flat nose pliers, come up on either side, and at the very base of that, give it just a little nudge. Make sure you flatten it back in case there's any kind of a little wiggle room gap. Now I'm going to open up a 4mm jump ring, feet on one leg, feet on the second leg. And when you open and close those things, you want to either pull it towards yourself or push it away from yourself like you're opening and closing a door. You never want to open it side to side. Just feed that onto my simple looped eye pin here. And now I'm going to close this back, so I'm going to push it away from myself like I'm closing the door. I want to be sure I don't have a gap. You can also come over and give it a quick little pinch. Now is where we put on the green undies. And then we're going to pull through the little black skirt, put on the head, which for me is this green quartzite, my witchy hat, a little seed bead on top of my witchy hat. So that's the front of my witch dress. So I'm going to turn it to the side. I'm going to be on top of the seed bead, and I'm 1/4 of an inch down. Now I'm going to push with my thumb to make a 90-degree bend. I'm horizontal with my pliers, so I'm just going to go vertical now in the same area. And try not to move it down if you can keep from it. You want to stay on the same place where you made your 90-degree bend for your loop. Then I'm going to pull that over the top, up and over. That makes a question mark shape, like a little coat hanger. I'm going to put this on the bottom plier now. Now I'm right-handed. I'm going to just hand off like a relay race to my left hand. I've not changed the direction of my actual plier, but I can now pull the wire tail. I'm going to be pulling it to the outside of my witch's head so that I can close the loop over here and create a circle. So I'm just going to push my thumb up against the witch's head and pull with my index finger to where I am pulling it towards myself. And that is now made a circle. Put that back on to my little pliers. push and pull around that stem here so that I can make a nice wrapped loop, and you're going to be bypassing the lower portion of your pliers at a downward angle. But once you bypass that and you're pulling it on the back side, you're going to go at an upper angle. That way you can hug the neck of your loop that you made so that everything will be tight. I'm going at a downward angle, bypassing the witch, but I'm pulling it back up after I've bypassed my pliers. It's hugging the neck of my loop. I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm right there beside my previous wrap. Okay. So it's right beside each other like a little coil or a slinky. Now right here, if you start to have problems like I do, or you've got carpal tunnel, maybe you're shaking, you might want to use your bent nose pliers. Grab a hold of the end of the wire and help you do the pulling. Continue to wrap that around. It also gives you a little bit of a tighter hold onto that wire. So there's 3. It looks like I've got enough of a gap here to make a 4th wrap. Now it's nice and snug, and it's right on top of my black seed bead. I do have just the slightest little gap here on the back that I can fill in with wire. I'm going to finish the wrap all the way around to the back side. Give it a little pinch, but don't get onto your seed bead. You're just pinching that wire into the little gap. Then you can cut off the excess, because now you don't have a gap on the front. And I like to typically cut my wire off on the sides when I'm doing these wrap loops. That way nothing scratches the back of me and it doesn't show on the front. You want to get right up here with your flush cutters, which are flat here on the back. You want the flat end to go into that little tiny nook area up against your coils, your stem. Give it a nice trim. Hold the end of the wire so it doesn't fly up and hit you in your face. Then if you still have just a bare little tiny bit of a tail, you can go ahead and pinch that in. I usually like to put it back onto my round nose pliers so that it doesn't move around on me. Then I come in with my bent nose pliers right on top of that little tail. Careful not to squeeze my seed bead. And I just go around the base, giving it a slight little push so that it's locked into the little tiny gap that it was. All of my coils are side by side. Looks very nice. See how my loop is kind of going back to the right, and here's the front of her dress. Very easy to fix. Even though my witch's body isn't moving around because I did a nice tight wrapped loop up here that ended right on top of the bead, I still have a little bit of leeway to where I can turn her to where the loop now matches the front of her dress. Open up the ear wire. This one is a little bit different than your standard fish hooks because of its shape. This actually stays in my ear a lot better than the standard fish hook. Same principle though to open it up. I usually turn mine upside down, grab it with the edge of my fingernail, and that way I can see which side is the one that has the slit so that I can open it. It's on the left side for me to pick up. So I'm going to just pick up towards myself just enough to where I can feed on my earring. I want to feed on the earring so that the front of my witch is facing the curved area of my earring. That way when I'm wearing my earring, I'm not looking at the back of my witch. So there's the front of her going on to that little loop. Then I want to close up the loop just like I would a jump ring. So it's pulled towards me right now. I'm going to push it away from myself. Get my fingernail out of the way. I want to be sure that there's no gap. You might want to give it another little squeeze in case you have any question. There is the loop of the earring. That's what's going to be seen out of the ear. And the front of the witch is going to be front facing. At this point, you're just going to take your marker and make a face. So here is an example of how that looks compared to Witch 1.0. Oh, how cute they are. If you want to do something pretty cool, make a 4x6 piece of cardstock in your favorite holiday paper, and then use your earring hole punch. That way you can hang your earrings inside a little card that you've made. That's a perfect way to give a gift inside of a little card to package your earrings for certain themes. An additional cool thing about making these cards is it helps to give you a little bit of added protection when you go to put this in your bubble mailers or your gift boxes or whatever it is that you're going to be using, because the cardstock kind of acts as an additional barrier. You really should be bubble wrapping your earrings and stuff. Double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble, fillet of a finny snake, in the cauldron boil and bake, eye of newt and toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog, adder's fork and blindworm's sting, lizard's leg and howl its wing, for a charm of powerful trouble, like a hell broth boil and bubble. Double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. Cool it with a baboon's blood, then the charm is firm and good. Have a spooktacular, sparklerific Halloween, y'all!